It's the same book, yeah. It's the same book.
It's the same page, is it? Yeah, okay.
Having
193.
married.
193.
Having married, Rabbi Gnadakun says, and entered into the entanglements
When this body drops dead on the ground, then what will remain mine? At that moment, all of my sons and dearest loved ones will not be able to give me any happiness.
I work hard just like an ass every day, and now I am wondering for whom am I working so hard? As I am still surrounded by so many illusions.
6. I waste every day in the useless, insufficient work, and I waste every night controlled by sleep. And in every 24 hours, I never for 1 second consider that that is sitting very close by my side.
I live a very carefree lifestyle, eating, going out, wearing nice clothes as I please, but I never consider that one day I will have to give up this body.
My poor heart is plagued by constant anxieties about the maintenance and daily turmoil created by my body, my house, my wife, my family members, and my social obligations. All these anxieties are pinching me and destroying all my intelligence.
Alas, whatever the most situation has
Arisen.
I am absorbing all this trouble, but I never consider that all these things are temporary and subject to perish very soon after I am dead and gone. Where will all of my material opulence remain?
When my body will be thrown in the pit at the cremation grounds, I'll simply lie there motionless. Then many crows, vultures, ants and worms will come and playfully sport there.
All the stray dogs and jackals will then become very much delighted, and in great ecstasy they will make a festival ground out of my body, and will have a huge celebration and feast.
Just see, this is the ultimate destination of this material body. And the most amazing thing is that all of my material opulences, house, family and friends have exactly the same destination.
Therefore I ask if anyone has any sharp intelligence, please give up all of these temporary illusions presented by Maya, and kindly search after the means to get pure devotion to Lord Krishna, for this is the only really tangible eternal truth.
That in your pipe and smoke it.
Jai.
We are all deeply caught up in the phantasmagoria of this material world, and we think it's real. And we think that everything is very important, our family, our money, our home, our everything. But it'll all be gone one day, and one day soon it'll all be gone. Or rather, we'll be gone from there. What can we do? It is, Guru Maharaj say, that why are we all wild goose chasing, chasing after impermanent and unreal things and thinking that they are real. But in the Gita, Krishna says, that which is impermanent, the wise have seen that this it doesn't actually exist. This is a show. and that which is eternal, that it never ceases. So we have to try to differentiate between the two things. But we are mostly concerned with external things. And foremost is our identification with the body. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given this the four main anarthas on the path of devotion. The first one being misidentification of the self, thinking that this is me, and all the things related to that are mine. So then we also think that all of the opinions that we hold, that's part of me, and all of the prejudices and misconceptions that have grown up with us, not just in this life but over many lives. We think that's part of us. And especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that once you're over the age of 40, very difficult to change your way of thinking, because you've already established your view of life, your outlook on life in that time. It's difficult, as they say, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But at the same time, we shouldn't think that that's not possible. It depends on our fortune, actually. It depends on our fortune. So, this misidentification of the self is not just, then we can say, I'm not this body, I'm the soul, I'm all of this thing. But this is more or less the theory. But when you look in the mirror, you still think that's you looking back at you. And that all of the things that we hold. But Guru Maharaj says these are all like mental mushrooms. That mushrooms, they grow on the surface. They don't have any roots, fungi. So where the mushrooms are growing on the soil there, if you just throw a bucket of water, they'll wash away, because they don't have any root in the soil. So similarly, all of these misconceptions that we've fostered within ourselves for so long, they don't really have any roots in our soul. They don't touch the soul, but they cover the soul. So much so that we identify more with that than we do with our eternal self. And this is according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the first anartha in the life of a sadhaka, or who is trying to progress in spiritual life. And the second is to be desire to enjoy the things of this world. Because we've misidentified ourselves with that, so we think that all of these things, external things, will give us some satisfaction in life, some pleasure in life, some fulfillment. But that is also a misconception. And that is preventing us from progressing properly in the spiritual line. And then the third is aparad. So there we see, in the life of devotion, so many aparads possible. That is, first, the 10 aparad and nam aparad, 10. of 10 types. And those things we should consider. That's why, at the time of initiation, Srila Gurudev would always give us this pamphlet, Glories of the Holy Name and Offences to be Avoided. Because if you don't know what those offences are, how is it possible to avoid them? And also, although we may also be aware of them, it's almost certain that we won't be able to avoid all of the offences to the name. But Srila Rupa Goswami has given some advices in his Upadeshamrita. Mainly Srila Rupa Goswami's books are of high type. That means, dealing with rasa and the higher aspects of devotion. But Guru Maharaj said 2 books Rupa Goswami given to us for our benefit, and that is Upadeshamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or at least the first half of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, because the second half is also deals with rasa. But thank you. And Upadeshamrita is a very important book for us. It's not so many verses, but there's much to be said about all of those things that we can say. Yeah. When Tyagi Maharaj was compiling that book, and I'd say, like I say to him, why has it taken 3 years? It's like a small. And he showed me the manuscript, and okay, he's got the commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and the commentary of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in there. So that we can see a big volume of work there. And it is very helpful for the sadhaka, Upadeshamrita. But in that Upadeshamrita, Rupa Goswami has given some advice for against the aparad. So as Srila Govinda Maharaj would say, it's almost impossible that we will be able to avoid nam aparad. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Rupa Goswami Prabhu is told that just like when someone is suffering from jaundice, then everything tastes bitter to them. And I can attest to that being true because I've had jaundice twice. And but in Ayurveda, the medicine for jaundice is made from sugar candy. I don't know what the process is, but of course sugar candy is by nature sweet. But if you have jaundice, even that tastes bitter on your tongue. But he says, so he said, we're also suffering from the jaundice of avidya, or ignorance. Means ignorance, not just ignorance, but misconception. You can say avidya means misconception, misconceived idea about reality. So, but simply by taking that medicine every day, just like if you take that Ayurvedic medicine for jaundice, gradually that jaundice becomes less and less and less, and the sweetness of the sugar comes through. You can taste it. So it says also that the medicine for that avidya is the chanting of the holy name. But it tastes bitter on our tongue. Guru Maharaj says, even Guru Maharaj says that, if you especially, well actually, ever since we met Guru Maharaj, we see that if he wasn't discussing Krishna consciousness with the devotees, he was chanting on his japamala. And but even he says that in the stage of sadhana, that chanting is a little painful to us, as we don't have any real taste for that. And so it's like we have to force ourselves to do that every day. So, but underlying that is the prospect of sweetness. Otherwise, why you would do it? There's nothing to be gained from that. So Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would say, you know, if this were just a cheating process, I would have left it a long time ago. I said, because maybe I can't do any good for you, but at least I won't do anything bad for you. So if it were just some cheating thing, I would have left that a long time ago. But it is not a cheating thing. It has been proven by the scripture and by the sadhus that it is real. And therefore, if we are not getting the proper result for that, must be something we're doing wrong. It must be making some kind of aparad, namaparad. So, and of course, also so many other different kinds of aparad, which are discussed in more detail in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That means seva aparad, dharma aparad. There are so many different kinds of aparad.
Sorry, what would be the English translation of aparad?
Aparad means, so the root of that word, aparad, rad means service, or you know, like service to Krishna, and aparad means against the service of Krishna. So it means that which is blocking us from purely serving Lord Krishna, that's called aparad.
Has nothing to do with Radha?
Yeah.
Yeah. Service.
So that's against, you can say, against Radha. Radha being the epitome of service to Lord Krishna. So that which is against her, or against her, what would you say, her reason for being, which is the service of Lord Krishna. Well, that which is against that, that's called aparad. So, so then that's the fourth of the anarthas. Anartha means unwanted things in the life of the sadhaka. The fourth one is weakness of heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur calls that weakness of heart. And that is, you can say, synonymous with the 10th offense against the holy name, which is given in different places to mean different things, but ultimately it means, you know, that after hearing so much about Krishna consciousness, still not moved by that, still not feeling any love for Lord Krishna, or some block is there. You know, sometimes it's given like rowing a boat with the anchor firmly planted in the water. You just go round and round in a circle. You're not making any headway anywhere. So, you know, that I remember discussing this with Srila Govinda Maharaj, this 10th offense of the holy name. That I say, like, of all the offenses, we are all guilty of this, right? That we're all guilty of, after we know so many things, the theory of it, but it was still, we're not feeling any love for Krishna. And so I said, how do you overcome that? And Gurudev said, actually the meaning is that the holy name wants to take you somewhere, and you're resisting that. This is basically that same weakness of heart, that I know what is necessary for me to progress in Krishna consciousness, but do you know what? Can't really be bothered. That's what it boils down to, you know. I've heard all of these things, so many things, you know, but I can't be bothered. And why is that? Because we are addicted to two things: comfort and convenience. We're always looking for that comfortable life, convenient life that doesn't demand any sacrifice of me. That is required, actually. Especially we understand that from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that sacrifice is the basis of love. Guru Maharaj says the basis of love is sacrifice, and without that you cannot make any progress. That means you have to come to extend yourself beyond your, you can say, the comfort zone. Right? What may not be convenient for you and it may not be comfortable for you, but without making that sacrifice, required sacrifice, you won't be able to make any substantial progress in your spiritual life. You'll just be stagnant there. And also Srila Guru Maharaj used this example of riding a bicycle. They said, you know, the sadhana is like riding a bicycle. You have to keep pushing the pedals. Once you stop, you can freewheel for a little while, but eventually the bicycle just fall over and you'll fall off. So similarly in spiritual life, you have to keep moving forward, otherwise you'll fall off. Overcome, you know, by the inertia or by the force of gravity. Force of gravity always pulling us down. So similarly, this material nature is always pulling us downwards towards our lower nature. But if we want to rise up, then some effort is necessary on our part. It's not sufficient just to coast along. You have to make some effort. As if you're not making progress, then you're going to fall. At some point you're going to fall from that. So it's required of us. But this weakness of heart means you don't have the strength to go forward. But that strength is there. It's just, you know, as I said, you can say, can't be bothered with it. A complacency. And Guru Maharaj would say that, you know. Then you have to think. You say, so, you know, we all know this saying, no risk, no gain. You have to take some risk if you want to make some gain. And you'd say, Guru Maharaj would say, greatest risk, greatest gain. But are you prepared for all risk and no gain? That is what's demanded of us, to risk everything for the sake of Krishna and not expect anything in return for that. This is very extraordinary if anyone is prepared for that. We want, you know, you want something, isn't it? Some confirmation that you're going in the right direction, you're doing the right thing, all of these things. Some confirmation is there. But confirmation not coming, then what? You will give up, you'll stop. Oh, yes, I remember somebody said that to me once, yeah. Oh yeah, they came in the time of Gurudev and they were initiated, and then we never saw them again for like years, you know, and then suddenly they came visit to the temple. Yeah, I tried it didn't work, didn't really work for me, you know. Didn't really work for me. That's, you know, in Aesop's fables or Hitopadesh or Panchatantra, they're like tales of morality. And there's that one very famous one is the the fox trying to get the grapes, and but they're too high for him. He can't reach. So then he concludes, they're sour anyway. They must be sour. Can't reach them. They must be sour. So then that's the conclusion that we come to. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that unless you climb the tree, you can't expect to eat the fruits at the top of the tree. You can't get them if you can't climb the tree. So it's necessary some effort from our side. Not just that everything will come to you on a plate. Here you go, it's all there, you can tuck in. No, you have to make some effort on your side.
It sounds like we need some kind of catalyst.
Yeah, that may come to us in different ways. When you feel desperate, this is called lolium, right? This is given in many places, especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lolium means you have some necessity, inner necessity for that thing, that you can't live without it. You have to have that. So then we hear, right, that the Lord is called Satchidananda Vigraha, right? Satchidananda Vigraha, and that means he's full of eternity, truth, consciousness, and bliss. Satchidananda, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Then the individual soul is also said to be in his pure state, also Satchidananda. We can accept, yes, Sat, meaning we can feel that we are eternal. That you can feel that. With some reflection, you can understand that, Sat. And Chit, conscious, we're conscious. I think, therefore I am. And otherwise, then if you're not conscious of your own existence, then you're just dead matter, right? Like a stone. A stone exists, but it's not really conscious of its own existence. But when we have consciousness, then we can search for our ultimate fortune. So just to exist eternally, that's not enough. And even just to be conscious of your own existence isn't enough. Because we need anandam, bliss, joy, happiness. And that we are missing, can say. Yes, Sat we can say yes. Chit we can say yes. But Anandam, where is Anandam? Then Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's told us, Anandam is the food of the soul. The soul has its own food, and that food is Anandam. So we have to try to find where is that Anandam, and how we can connect with that, how we can feed our self, our inner self. That's our inner necessity. We need that. Otherwise, everything is just dead. So Anandam, that is the food of the soul, the necessity of our own inner existence. And that will come when we feel inescapable necessity for that. Only then, when we can't be satisfied with anything else. So that also requires some effort from our side. When, Saraswati Thakur's disciples, they say, oh, we've been practicing. They submitted to Saraswati Thakur, we've been practicing this for so many years, and we still don't feel that substantially we have anything. And like a delegation of disciples, they admitted this to Saraswati Thakur. And he said, and you all think like this? They said, yes, we're a little bit afraid to tell you, like ashamed, maybe you'll be upset with us or something, And he said, and this is the feeling of you all? Yes, we all feel this, And then his reply was, well, then that's very good. I'm very happy that you feel that. Because if you'd come and said, oh, we're feeling so much inner satisfaction and joy, and you know that we have this substantial spiritual wealth within us, then I would not be happy to hear that, because generally that means you're very far away from that, actually. It's just deceiving yourself. You know, then that stage of spiritual development is called ruchi, right? That means a real taste for that. Ruchi and nishta. Nishta means more than faith, that it's can't live without it. Can't live without it. Guru Maharaj would say, but nishta means nothing. Nishta, nothing. So still on the negative side, you know, like coming out from the material side, still on the negative side, nishta. But what is that? So it's still not attained that. And nishta only comes after the removal of the anarthas, anartha nibritti. And that in itself, that's the sadhana of the sadhaka, is anartha nibritti. Now that requires some, like our willing participation. And Guru Maharaj uses that example that, you know, that when a patient is in a very sick state, then sometimes they have to induce a coma to that person, right? You see that sometimes. They induce a medically induced coma so that they can treat the person. They're so severely ill that they can't cooperate with the doctors. Then because they're in so much pain, so then they have to put them in a coma so they can treat them without being overwhelmed by the pain. And then when they reach a certain stage, they can be woken up and then begin their cooperation, if you like, with the doctors. So that's necessary from our part, is some cooperation with our doctor. You can say spiritual doctor means Guru and Vaishnava. Their advice is to us. We have to be able to cooperate with that. But we don't like to cooperate with that. We like to oppose that. That's our problem. And no one's going to put you in a coma so that they can treat you. You have to be able to cooperate. That requires something from our side. How to enable that within us. So Srila Guru Maharaj would say that 99.9% of your advancement in spiritual life depends on your association. Who and what you allow yourself to be associated with. Because association doesn't just mean like hanging around with somebody. That's not association. And also, association means what you allow within your consciousness, what you expose yourself to. And there's so much that you can expose yourself to nowadays, especially. Don't even have to go anywhere. You just pick up your telephone and you've got access to everything that you can imagine, and probably a lot of things you can't imagine also. Just right there in the palm of your hand. As someone said, you know, I read this sometime recently, that what would be the most difficult thing to explain if, like, you know, like let's say someone who existed, you know, like sometimes in a peat bog or something, they find perfectly preserved person, you know, from thousands of years ago. Or let's say somebody is in a suspended animation frozen, and then they wake them up, and then what would be the hardest thing to explain to them about modern life? And the reply was that in my hand I have a device that I can access all of the information in the world, all of the knowledge, everything is there. I can access all that, but all I do is watch funny cat videos and get into pointless arguments with people in chat rooms or whatever it is, you know. So that would be very difficult to explain to somebody. And that's also about who and what we allow ourselves to associate with. That we open our consciousness to that. So then the most beneficial thing for us is sadhu sangha. But also again, we have to understand what is sadhu sangha. Again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur he's written some extensively about what is sadhu sangha, but in a nutshell you can say that most people think sadhu sangha means that you find someone, like a saintly person, and you try to give something to them, some service to them, some feed them, give gifts to them, hear from them, all of these things. And he said, these are all good, but that isn't sadhu sangha. Actually, sadhu sangha means when you see the spiritual qualities of that person, you try to imbibe those same qualities within yourself. That's actual sadhu sangha. So, then that requires something of us, a desire within us to be more than we are, spiritually to be more than we are now, what we are lacking now. We want to increase that, not by imitation, but by a kind of, I guess, osmosis, that by the association of that person, that some of their qualities may rub off on us. You see some devotees very tolerant, very forgiving, always ready to overlook the bad qualities in others, and always trying to encourage the goodness in others, all of these things. Then those qualities we want within ourselves. We want to develop those qualities within ourselves. Not just like some kind of imitation of a person for our name and fame or pratishta, such a great devotee, like that, but rather something genuine. And genuinely we wish to go in the same direction that person's going in. We can say, then Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he told me that when he was in New York, then one devotee, like kind of famous devotee, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, came to visit him. And he's renowned as like a big scholar within ISKCON. And so he came to visit Gurudev, and every day he's coming and asking Gurudev so many questions, like technical questions about spiritual life and so on. And maybe 3, 4, 5 days he's coming and asking these questions, and then after 4 or 5 days, then Gurudev said, "So are you happy with my answers? That all your questions you've given me, but are you happy with my answers?" He said, "Oh, Maharaj, I can't tell you, wonderful. What you have said, all these wonderful things is beyond my imagination that you'd be able to give me such wonderful answers." Then Gurudev said, "So then what will you do with those answers now?" And he said, oh, I don't know what you mean, Maharaj. What do you mean by that? And he said, so if you are happy with how I've answered your questions, then you should come with me. And he said, oh, I don't have any money right now, I can't travel with you. But Gurudev didn't really mean that in a physical sense, although that also would have probably done the trick. But he meant, like, the direction that I'm going in, you should also go in that direction. He said, otherwise, all these days you've been asking these questions, you've just been wasting my time and wasting your own time. If it's not going to change your life, what's the point of asking so many questions if it doesn't change your life? It should change your life. It's like sometimes people say, oh yeah, if I won the lottery, it wouldn't change my life, it wouldn't change my... It should, isn't it? That kind of wealth or whatever, it should change. It should be a life-changing thing. So similarly, real spiritual connection, real spiritual wealth should change our lives, should change your life for the better. Otherwise, what's the use of that? Just so that you can, tell things to people that they don't know, or, then they go, wow, where did you hear that from? But rather it should be transformative. Hearing from the Vaishnava should be a transformative experience.
So, Prabhu, could you say that actually the enthusiasm is lacking for a lot of people because these questions, who am I, why am I here, why am I suffering, who is God and what is my relationship with God? We get that explained in all the beautiful transcendental books, and then we get an explanation how we could follow the teachings. Then everything is actually very wonderful, and wow, at last, after so many lifetimes, I come to this truth, and everything we know in the world is so untrustworthy. So, could you say, well, the only thing what is lacking then is like enthusiasm when you come across the highest fortune for every living entity? Could you say that?
Weakness of heart, isn't it? That's what it boils down to. Attachment to comfort and convenience. It is true that that we lack the proper enthusiasm to pursue that. It takes us out of our comfort zone to have to do that. It means I have to make some personal sacrifice in my life. Don't really want to do that. That's the rub, isn't it? How do we find that, and how do we maintain that? Even Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, when someone asked him, why is it we see so many devotees that after some years they just leave it, they just go away and leave it. And even Guru Maharaj said that someone will give their whole life for this is a very rare thing, a very rare thing. So, those who are able to do that, we have to try to get their association and hope that that will rub off on us, that enthusiasm. How is it that they're maintaining that enthusiasm, like constantly? How is it that they're still like excited about Krishna consciousness? We can all say, that when we first came in connection with it, with Krishna consciousness, it was like, wow, isn't it? Like, wow. I remember that myself, getting Prabhupada's books, first of all, was the first thing. Actually, my first book was given to me by my English teacher, or my form teacher at school. She knew I was, like dabbling in Buddhism and various things, And so she gave me 3 books. One was called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones by Alan Watts. He's a kind of, Zen Buddhist idea. And the other one was called Be Here Now by Baba Ram Das, Richard Alpert. I like that book very much. And the subtitle of that book was A Cookbook for a Spiritual Life. I don't know if it's still available, but it is.
Lots of people buy it.
Yeah. I found it quite exciting, that book. Richard Alpert was a professor at Berkeley University who, along with Timothy Leary, they discovered LSD. And Timothy Leary went in one way, and Richard Alpert, he went in another way. He became Ram Das. He went to India and he met Tin Kori Baba in Vrindavan. And he realized, after realizing that person was not affected by LSD, like he considered he's on a much higher plane than that. And he, left all of that and endeavored for some spiritual life. Neem Karoli Baba, that was it. That's his name, his guru. And anyway, then, and the 3rd book that she gave me was Sri Ishopanishad by Prabhupada. And so, as much as I liked the other books to various degrees, but when I started reading that book, like every page, things were chiming with me, and exciting me. Oh yeah, this is true, this is true, this is true. And I remember telling that teacher, this book, it's like got all the answers. And she said, be careful then. Be careful of any book that says it's got all the answers, she said, which is not bad, of course, advice, but she obviously didn't read that book herself. She just passed it on to me. But, I was really excited about Krishna consciousness, really. It was giving me like a new life. And it was very difficult to maintain that level. It's like you're given some kind of taste for that prospect of spiritual life. And also you have a kind of naivety as well. I remember coming to the temple after reading that book. And other things, but brought me to the temple. And one of the things I noticed was that in the toilets there was no toilet paper. And I remember thinking, at the time, I was thinking, wow, these people are so advanced, they don't even go to the toilet anymore. Stupid fool. But anyhow. But yeah, I was completely entranced, and I thought all these people were, they know everything. And I was at Bhaktivedanta Manor. I went to Bhaktivedanta Manor with a school friend, and during I was still at school. I was 14 years old or something, and I went with my school friend. And we stayed there for a few days during the Easter holidays, school holidays, And I just thought, of course, you think that everyone there is really advanced in spiritual life, And at that time at the manor, there was Radha Gokulananda here, and now where there's Sitaram, but then it was Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. And so I asked that devotee, some devotee is cleaning up in the temple room, he's got shaven head, tilak, everything, and then so I understand this is Radha and Krishna, who's this, the Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, who are they? And he said, some demigods or something, I think. They are, So, okay. He didn't know anything at all, probably less than I knew. So, but you think that they must know everything, right? I know. I mean, that was those few days there was an extraordinary experience for me at that time. And I remember that Brahmananda Swami was there at that time, and they were debating in the talk, and he was saying, so he was quoting Prabhupada as saying that. So if somebody is reading from the Gita and he says, so if somebody says that they are God, then we ask them, please you show me your universal form then. And if they can't show their universal form, then we say, you are not God, you are a dog. Like Prabhupada used to say, like that, Then, but anyway, then one of the other devotees, he picks up Brahmananda Swami's challenge, and he says, well, I'm God. And he said, then show me your universal form. And then that devotee said, yes, if you serve me with love and devotion for the rest of your life, I'll reveal my universal form to you, because you don't have the vision to see. Now, and I thought, that's a good answer, good comeback. But it really confused me, because I thought they all believed the same thing. Like I didn't realize it was a mock debate. I thought, how come he doesn't believe what he anyway? So yeah, then we went to central London on Saturday night, and we met with the devotees from Bury Place, and we went on Sankirtan in the centre of, around Piccadilly Circus and all that, and Leicester Square, and Brahmananda Swami is leading the party there, Sankirtan party, and in the middle of Leicester Square there was the Salvation Army were there, and they're playing, their instruments and singing hymns or whatever they do, right? So Brahmananda Swami, for some reason, he thought we should just do Sankirtan really loud and just run around them, so like drown out what they're doing. So we were all doing that, and then suddenly, obviously some complaint had gone, and then suddenly all these police vans pull up, and the police come jumping out to arrest us all. And then as the police are approaching, Brahmananda Swami shouts, "Everybody run for it!" All the devotees running in all directions. And I was there with my friend, and school friend, and we just faded into because we were just wearing civvies, so we just faded into the crowd, and managed to avoid being arrested. But all the devotees they were all being arrested, and I remember thinking, wow, anyone who has such disregard for the police, they must be good. I thought, because that was young teenage boy. Anyway, so that was my first real contact with the devotees at Bhaktivedanta Manor. I remember. And they gave us these wooden beads to chant on. They weren't Tulsi beads, but wooden beads, chanting on these beads, and all these books and everything. And they had the Spiritual Sky incense factory was there then. And I remember we were dipping these incense sticks, strawberry incense, and came away from there smelling like strawberries. That was my first time there. And then I remember these devotees saying to me, "Oh, where have you come from?" I said, "We've come from Hereford." "Oh, how did you get here?" "We hitchhiked." "That's far out." I said, "That's really far out." Anyway. And I must admit, after leaving there, I thought these people are crazy. I said, they're lovely people and everything, but they're all crazy. I was sure of it. We're all crazy. I don't know how ever I became involved with being one of those crazy people myself. Don't know how that happened, but there you are. And I don't know how we got onto that. How did we get onto that? Keeping that enthusiasm. So that you get a kind of vision and a kind of taste for spiritual life at that time. And it was very exciting, you know, like a new way of seeing the world and seeing reality. Very exciting, but it's also very easy to become complacent about that as you grow up with that, you know. Anyway, I think it's time for Arti now. Association, that's the key thing. And associating in the proper way. So Guru Maharaj would say that's what always means in the line of service. Has to be in the line of service for the association to be real.
Would you say that association and networking means more or less the same thing?
Yeah, it does, but
association is broader, bigger.
Yeah, in spiritual life, the main important factor of association is that we have to be submissive to the truth, not coming in a challenging way. As Saraswati Thakur, our Param Guru, he said it, when anyone who's had like Western education, the whole idea of guru and disciple is very difficult to accept. That one person will have so much control about how you see the world.
Mm-hmm.
So because we are always taught to think independently and challenge everything that you hear, all of these things. It's all good. But once you come to the feet of Guru and Vaishnava, you have to be submissive to the truth that they give. Otherwise, that truth won't be able to resonate with you if you're always challenging and looking for, exceptions to that. So that's necessary. As Guru Maharaj saying, with the difference between the disciple and the insect, the ant. So the ant may be physically much closer to the Guru than you or I may be, but they're only looking how to bite the Guru and like suck their blood or whatever they do. So where the disciple must always come with an attitude of service. This is told by Krishna in the Gita. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattadarshana. Krishna tells Arjuna, you have to approach the spiritual master with these three prerequisite qualities. Pranipat, that means exclusive regard. This is the path. Not just like, okay, this week I'll hear about Krishna, and next week I'm going to the Buddhist temple, and the week after that I'm going to learn about some other thing. Pranipat means exclusive regard. And pariprashna means relevant inquiry. So, then that must be in the line of, now I'm here, but I want to go there. So how do I go from here to there? What's the process for that? In other words, what's my inner necessity for that? One of our sannyasis, he asked Guru Maharaj, could you explain the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam to us? And Guru Maharaj's reply to him was, first you should learn what's an appropriate question to ask your spiritual master. I don't consider that to be an appropriate question. Maybe for someone, but he knew not for that person, at his stage, not relevant. What's a relevant question? First of all, that means you have to examine yourself. Where am I? And where is it that I want to go? And how to reach that's relevant. The relevant question. And then, last but not least, sevaya. You have to serve. You have to come with a serving attitude. Because why? Because it's not that Krishna needs us to serve him, but we need his service. And where we're going, or where we're attempting to go, the spiritual realm, everyone there is a servitor. Every atom there is a serving atom. No one's going there with their own agenda. And until you make yourself a servant here, a servant of the Absolute, You can't go there. There's no room for anyone there that's out for their own gain, if you like, you know. Everyone there is a servant of the Absolute. And there, there's only one to be served. That's him, Krishna, the Lord. And everyone else is to provide that service to him. So this is why it's necessary for us to come with that attitude of service. It is not just, like bringing an apple to your teacher every day or something in recognition, but no. It's a prerequisite for our spiritual life is to serve. And Prabhupada used to say, that's the nature of everyone is to be a servant. So you serve your country, or you serve your community, serve your family, serve your boss, you work for, all of these things. There's always in this relationship of service. And he would say, and if you don't have anyone to serve, you buy a dog or a cat and serve them. There's this within us. It's part of who we are, the nature to serve. And so Guru Maharaj would say, there is some pleasure in exploitation. If we exploit others or other things, there's some pleasure will come as a result of that. But a much greater pleasure comes from those who are able to serve. Like saying that who gets the greatest pleasure, who eats, or who is the person that cooks and serves those people. That pleasure is more than, it's some pleasure in eating. But who feeds those people, who makes those things to feed the people, their pleasure is greater actually. We can understand that. So then, who is Guru Maharaj used to quote John Kennedy, President of the United States. He used to say, don't ask what your country can do for you, but rather ask, what can I do for my country? So Guru Maharaj sometimes would quote that and say, you don't ask what Krishna can do for you, but rather ask, what can I do for Krishna? That should be the proper attitude. Not what can I get out of this, but what can I do to contribute towards this in a positive way. Then that will be a genuine relationship with the Absolute, with the reality. It won't be, in this world everything is, you scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. And we have that kind of relationship with everybody here. As long as you're scratching my back, then I'll scratch your back. But rather it should be, no, actually, I am for him. And that's the reality. Everything existing for him. And that means we also exist for him. How to understand that, how to determine what that means to us in a practical way, in a real way. Well, that's the adventure of spiritual life, to understand those things. The real fulfillment of our life. Yes, I am for him, but in which way am I for him? And we must be for him. Otherwise, why do we exist? Not for anything of our own purpose is only going to be temporary and short-lived. We'll all be finished.
Unfortunately, in the material world, everything is transactional.
That's right, yes.
That's very unfortunate.
You can't live without that. It's impossible to live without exploitation. Impossible. But then, if we can dovetail that for the service of the Lord, right? Not by exploitation, not by renunciation, but by dedication.
I also heard one time, in the beginning, when I started with Krishna consciousness, you have to really be disgusted with what you see, what you do in material life, in exploitation, or what you see now, the world of all plunderers. I mean, you have to really see, I want to change. I want to, I really want to change, because I know deep inside of me there is a wealth, what I have not been exploited, so to say, of how do you say, dig into, to have realized what actually a wealth I have inside of me. And that first comes from gratefulness, from what the Lord, because there's nothing without the Lord. He is the designer of everything and creator, and also my destiny is in His hands. There's nothing without Lord Krishna, the Lord God. So if I realize all these things, then I say, I need that. I need to change, because I'm suffering, and I know it's all coming from my mind. Actually, all my suffering is coming from my mind. I create that, and if I surrender to the Lord, and if I listen to Devashish Prabhu, who was explaining this so nicely, and in the books, and coming here to the temple and giving service, then I see it's all alive, and that is transcendental. Transcendental matters are much more alive. Like material things, they are dull. They are like transcendental matters means it's alive. I can grow in this. But the only thing is that I have to be sincere. I have to be enthusiastic about it. I have to, and I see that in myself. Sometimes when I see, oh, there is something, I'm going down a little bit, then I know I have to sacrifice more. I have to be sincere, that I have to go a bit deeper. And then it's all the time coming alive again. So that is what I see in my very small attempt, but we hear it often. I have to be sincere about this, because it's all there, and it is very, very beautiful. It's amazing, this knowledge. It's amazing that you can have a relationship with God, the Lord, but that's all real. That's all real. We are made for that. We are made to, sons of nectar. Only meant to taste nectar, not this rubbish from the material world. It's bringing us down. We have to lift ourselves up by engaging in service, reading the books, chanting the holy name, coming, in the association of the sadhus. A very wonderful class, Devashish Prabhu. Always so inspiring. And
Guru Maharaj says, designed and destined for that.
yes.
You are designed and destined for that.
Yeah.
We only have to understand that. At least in principle. We have to understand that. And so then Guru Maharaj says, but then don't allow yourself to be satisfied with anything less than that. With that example given of the chatak bird, right? The chatak bird only will drink water that's falling, rainwater, falling from the sky. Even if the bird lives on the banks of a lake, it won't drink the water from the lake, only what the cloud gives. And sometimes the cloud not giving anything, but still he's not going to the pond. And sometimes the cloud giving a thunderbolt also. But okay, give me something to drink, or give me some punishment with the thunderbolt. I'm not going anywhere else. That kind of determination we have to have.
But I've seen, Prabhu, that most difficult things in life, they give us the biggest mercy, actually, to first of all, to get us out of illusion, because we are in a heavy cloud of illusion that things are as we think they are. They are not. So that shocks us and takes us out of illusion. And then we see also, oh, I made some mistakes, or I made some mistakes in that coming back to me, or it always refers to something what I can learn from, everything. And the most, from happy time, we cannot learn so much from that, isn't it, Prabhu? Happy time, we cannot, do we learn? Not so much. But difficult times, we learn the most of it, to refine ourselves, to make ourselves more conscious, more soft in the heart, actually. Because Krishna consciousness is like a purification of the consciousness and opening of the heart. Everybody needs hearty dealings, and do we do that enough with each other? Probably we can do that much more, be much kinder, much more giving. Srila Govinda Maharaj says, we are a giving unit. We are here to give. We are here to be nice and kind and give to our fellow people who are on the same path, on the same road in the world. We all need some upliftment.
Okay, nothing more to say.
Shall I ask the pujari?
Yeah, we're waiting for that.
Yesterday, you had a few minutes just stayed in the time, 18 minutes. 18 minutes. I ran it low. Okay, so 19 plus 60, isn't it? So how many minutes?
Finished.
I just woke up.
Good. Look a bit.
Can you see the time? Because I'm resting now.
No, it's going to be Artie now.
Oh, Artie, okay.
Will you sing?
You sing. Yeah.
How are you doing? You okay? What time did you come? What time did you come? So we go together.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna
Jai Ram Ki Madhacharya Vrinda ki Jaya Supa Paramahansa Prabhakacharya Sautara Saraswati Ma Bhakti Sundar Sarit Goswami Maharaj ki Jaya Supa Paramahansa Prabhakacharya Sautara Saraswati Ma Bhakti Rasa Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jaya Supa Paramahansa Prabhakacharya Sautara Saraswati Ma Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jaya Supa Sila Gaura Kisaradar Swami Maharaj ki Jaya Supa Sila Sachi Ananda Bhakti Vidhana Thakur ki Jaya Supa Sila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Sri Baladeva Vidyabhusana ki Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu ki Narottama Samananda Srinivasacharya Prabhu ki Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Sri Vishwanath Kaviraj Goswami ki Sri Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Jiva Gopal Bhakta Das Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu ki Sri Rupa Guru Varga ki Ramacharya Sila Hari Das Thakur ki जैसे कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की प्रसाद श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की प्रसाद श्री मां महाप्रभु की नवाजी धाम की मयापुर धाम की गंगा यमुना की वृंदावन धाम की राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की देवी वृंदा देवी तुलसी देवी की तुलसीकांत धाम की Baladeva Subhadra Jagannatha ki Bhakti Najabi Najasini Sinhadeva ki Bhakta Pravala Prahlad Maharaj ki Antaraya Simam Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Vaishnava Raya Sabha ki Taramata Raya Chaitanya Mat ki Raya Sakamat ki Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London Chapter ki Savipadaya Sakamat ki Manta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Ramaveta Vaishnava Mandala ki Ramaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Harinama Sankirtan ki Jai Gaura Premanande.
Yeah, cold yesterday and I think the day before was raining most of the time, wasn't it? Cold and rain and temperature is from -1 to 9 degrees. Yeah, and then during the day after it's got to 9-10 degrees. Up and down. Sí, seguro. No te preocupes, yo también te lo puedo. No, para nada. Cuando sí, sí, hermano.
Challenge.
Sí, él está tomando.
Enfrente de nosotros. ¿Ya te mudaste?
No, es que no se completa la venta.
Pero está dudando.
Está en un segundo, vas a comprar la casa. Tú estás es que va todo a ese proceso como 2 o 3 meses. Igual como ya tú y yo hemos visto de la otra venta, porque no, entonces ellos pueden agarrar mucho eso. Entonces tal vez una semana sí está. Entonces cuando esté voy a empezar a...
También lo dice. Termina.
¿Media hora?
De aquí para acá es como menos, media hora tal vez, o menos, si no hay tráfico. Si no hay tráfico, como 20.
¿En qué área es? ¿Cómo se llama el
Se
lugar?
llama Walking.
Qué bien.